He feels like this is his only way out. So this is a sign Elon feels like if he owns everything Doge is doing, he actually could go down. Like, there is a timeline where his ass ends up with serious, serious consequences as a direct result of his actions today. And you know what? He's not fucking wrong. He's not wrong. As I said to you guys from day one, this isn't like a close call. This is so wildly illegal and unconstitutional that even the MAGA judges are like, you obviously can't do this. Right? And so, now again, Trump is sort of taking a different path where he's puffing his chest out and being like, well, the Supreme Court said I can do anything that I think is official in my own mind. And so he's sort of being like, fuck you, I do what I want, right? But Elon is clearly feeling the heat, and that's why he's distancing himself from Doge. But of course, this is a complete snake weasel tactic because it's the most brazen lie ever told in human history. And like, even the biggest Elon fans in the world will look at this and be like, come on, bro, you got nothing to do with Doge. But he wants to get away from any sort of legal accountability. Okay, so now at the same time, guys, what is Doge doing at this very moment? According to ProPublica, Doge is behind the abrupt cancellation of $900 million in contracts overseen by the Institute of Education Sciences, a Department of Education division responsible for much of what we know about the state of U.S. schools. So this is one of the cuts that they're making. The head of the FDA just resigned. So food safety, there's been dozens of people who work on food safety who have been axed by Doge. I don't know, that seems kind of like a big deal. That seems like a big deal. Now, furthermore, Doge, remember they said, we're going to show you receipts on what we're doing and we're going to show it to you over the weekend. Well, guess what? The weekend came and went. They didn't update anything. They fucking lied. Soon thereafter, they decided, okay, yeah, here, we'll post some stuff of what we're doing. But you ready for this, guys? They are committing fraud out in the open. And they are being so shameless with even their accounting of what they're doing. Ready? So this is a thread that went viral here. This is really interesting. After several days, Doge has finally posted its purported savings. Why did it take so long to create a simple web page with a 1,000-row table? Who knows? Let's dig in. Headline number, $55 billion saved. They list the savings per nixed contract. This should be easy to verify then. Here we go. The first thing I did is add up the saved column for all canceled contracts and real estate. The numbers are $16.5 billion and $0.14 billion, respectively. Odd, since almost all of the purported savings come from contracts. We'll focus on that. The single biggest ticket item is a DHS contract listed as saving $8 billion. Wow, that's a huge contract. Actually, no, it's $8 million. They must have tried to automate scraping the FPDS form and failed. That means we're down to $8.5 billion in savings. So you can see here, they say they saved $8 billion, but if you look at the actual contract, it says $8 million. Okay, more. The next three biggest ticket items are all USAID contracts listed as $655 million each, so $2 billion total. Wow, that's pretty big. Wait, these are IDVs, not contracts. $655 million is the entire set-aside being triple counted. In the first 5 years, only $73 million was awarded and only 2 years remain. So they're fuzzy math, as it's called. Fuzzy math. They're really trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes here and act like, oh, here's all the things we're doing, and we laid it all out for, oh, what? The math doesn't add up, and you don't understand the way the contracts work, and you're misstating things massively? All right, more. So we're down to $6.5 billion in savings, and an alarming trend emerges. Doge does not seem to understand how the government contracts they are canceling work. You don't say. The savings they are claiming are not annual savings, but rather hypothetical savings if we spent every unobligated penny. And more importantly, they are just getting it wrong with alarming consistency. These numbers are erroneous. This select group of geniuses has not double-checked even the largest items accounting for the bulk of their claimed savings. This is a sad, pathetic farce. Here's the next biggest item, an IT service contract for the Social Security Administration worth $1 billion. That's a lot of savings. Well, again, this contract spanned 6 years, and 80% of it has already been spent. Well, more like $240 million in savings spread over the next 3 years, $80 million a year. In 2023, this contract funded 1,000 FTEs working $100 per hour. Did we need 1,000 SWEs working on the Social Security Administration infrastructure? Probably not. These could be valid savings. Disclaimer, no idea what they actually did. But worth noting that these cuts will impact many private sector jobs as well. And if anyone is curious, there are currently 17 lines that say CFPDS rather than the savings amount. I guess because their automated scraping failed. I did it manually and it took roughly 10 minutes. But that's too much to ask of super geniuses working 120 hours a week. So in other words, if you go through the stuff that they're doing with a fine-tooth comb and their accounting of their own actions, they have no idea how the contracts work. The numbers don't add up. They lie and misstate things on a regular basis. And it's humiliating. It's humiliating. Now, again, I want to be clear. Literally none of this is legal anyway. It's all illegal. It's all unconstitutional. They have no right to hack into the back end of the Treasury or hack these different government agencies or cut off funds. Wildly illegal. But when they say, oh, we're incredibly transparent and you know everything we're doing, what they do is post lies on their social media account on a daily basis. And the other thing, this laying out all the stuff that they say they're doing, it has basic elementary mistakes all over the place. All right, but I got more. What else is Doge up to? The USDA says it accidentally fired officials working on bird flu and is trying to rehire them. In a statement, an Agriculture Department spokesperson told NBC News that officials are working to swiftly rectify the situation. I don't know, man. That sounds important. Losing people who work on food safety at the FDA, losing the people who are working on the bird flu pandemic as birds are currently dying in massive numbers because of the flu being spread all over the place. Again, this is when they fired this is just like when they fired the people who oversee our nuclear weapons the other day. They did, and they were like, oh my God, wait, they do what? They look, okay, all right, we're going to try to get them back. They fired 300 people, then they had to try to bring back all but 28. And also, they struggled after they fired them. They didn't know how to get in contact with them for a while. Oh my God. Fucking amateur hour, bro. Fucking amateur hour. So again, more real-world consequences of what Doge is doing here. Illegally, unconstitutionally, every action they've taken. Look at this. Another medical horror story in a court affidavit from a USAID employee stationed overseas says his pregnant wife was not medevaced for emergency health care because of directives from Washington. Took intervention of a U.S. senator to reverse it, but was too late. So Trump the other day could take a lap around the NASCAR track, which cost allegedly about $5 million tax dollars, but a $25,000 medical evacuation for a U.S. government worker overseas, can't do that. And there were dire consequences. More. This is Doge in practice, y'all. A disabled Army veteran who has 4 kids and did 3 tours overseas is fired from his job at Bronx VA Hospital. So they say Luke Graziani, a disabled Army veteran, was 5 weeks from completing his probation year on Friday when he logged into his work computer at the Bronx Veterans Affairs Hospital. Waiting on the screen was a boilerplate termination email citing performance concerns. Graziani printed out the message and took it to his boss, who was shocked and promised to submit a request for exemption. Quote, "You're critical staff," Graziani recalled his boss saying. "We're going to try." Graziani, who is 45 and has 4 children, had believed until this weekend that his veteran status would protect his job. He served 20 years in the Army, first as a supply specialist and then in public affairs, deploying for 2 tours in Iraq and another 2 in Afghanistan before retiring in 2023. So a disabled Army veteran who has 4 kids lost his job. Elon Musk has gotten $20 billion in corporate welfare directly from U.S. taxpayers for his companies. $20 billion. He just got another $400 million to make armored Teslas. So Elon gets to keep his $20 billion, and this guy can't keep his job that he uses to provide for his family, this disabled veteran who served his country. Real-world impacts of what they're doing. Guys, here's a point, and I'm sort of humiliated and embarrassed that this didn't occur to me sooner. Because remember, what's the nominal cover story for Doge? Bro, waste, fraud, and abuse, bro. They're going after waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, as you've seen 1,000 times over, that's nonsense. They look at any program they personally don't like, and they say, get rid of it. Right? So the robber barons and the billionaires and the oligarchs, they keep shaking down the taxpayer and taking the money. But they look at something like USAID and cancer research for the NIH and HIV treatment for kids overseas and all these different things, and they go, fuck it, we don't like that, get rid of it, right? But the cover story is waste, fraud, and abuse. We're going after waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, guys, We already have